Hello there, and a very warm welcome to the second season of Life on Tour, presented by Hilton, a podcast where we talk to the great and good of the European Tour, but also of the World Game. I'm Andrew Cotter, and our first guest to start the second season, well, we've gone big. Maybe I should just let you guess, faithful podcast listeners, where we are or who we're speaking to, because we are, well, I'll tell you, we're in Woburn, so that probably gives you a clue that our first guest is the man of many cars, many victories worldwide. We're in his own room here, the Ian Poulter room at Woburn. Welcome to you, Ian Poulter.
Thank you.
So it was a long intro and a very short thank you. When you come to Woburn, I mean, there are many pictures of many great golfers around here, but your mark is certainly on this place. I mean, how long has this sort of been home for you now, this club? Because it feels like home for you.
It is home from home. The affiliation's been 17 years. So I was assistant pro just down the road in Leighton Buzzard, so that's probably 3-4 miles away. And 2002 was when the connection was made to come over and be touring professional. Obviously, we were living in and around the Milton Keynes area, and obviously 3 great golf courses, short game facility, great ranges. It made perfect sense to be able to come here, spend a bit of time, practice. And then obviously we moved to the States in kind of 10 years ago now. It's like 2008-ish, full time. But coming here every summer with the kids is fantastic.
Right. I mean, we are. This podcast is called Life on Tour because it is a sort of, let's say, a dig into the life of the people involved. So we want to go back to the start. Near enough the start. So when did you first pick up a club? How old were you, and where did you grow up?
So I grew up I was born in Hitchin, Hertfordshire, lived in Stevenage, and my first experience on a golf course, I was about 5. My dad chopped a club down for me, took the weight out of the bottom. It was an old laminated kind of 2-wood/3 wood. He dug out the weight at the bottom, he cut the shaft down, he taped up the end of the shaft with pipe tape, and that was the club I'd swing in the garden. My first shot on a golf course was Stevenage Golf Course, par 3 downhill, 11th hole, and there was a group on the green. It was about 120 yards, and my dad said, go on, just hit one, it'll be fine, not expecting me really to make much of a contact, and decided to pitch it right in the middle of the group in front. Give me a clip round the ear and sent me down to apologise.
It's not my fault, it was your fault, you told me to. Amazing the detail you can remember your first shot. Can you remember enjoying the game from an early age? I think children enjoy it if they can do it, if they can play it well.
I didn't enjoy the next 3 minutes having to walk down to apologise. I remember walking back up, they all cried my eyes out. But, from that point, spending time with my dad and my brother on the golf course at weekends, was always great fun. So to have that sport married in with playing football at the same time was great. So it wasn't just one sport, one single-minded vision. It was play football, play a bit of golf as well, and then see how we go.
You mentioned your brother, is that Danny, your older brother, and he was a good player. I think you've said somewhere that he had more. You thought that he could have been better than you? Yeah,
I mean, I think he definitely could have made it. He played golf 2 years. He's 2 years older, so therefore, the younger brother syndrome, where older brother's obviously a lot better for a period of time, and then the younger brother, kind of catches up, and then I finally took over. But he had tried to get on tour. He went to tour school. He played Sunshine Tour, a couple of events, but unfortunately for him, he never quite made it.
Was he similar to you? I mean, because people talk about you have that confidence and the belief, which is a large part of what you need to make it on tour, make it as a player. Would he maybe not have had that same self-belief?
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, we're different, and I feel that when he perhaps looks back, he might regret and sit back and reflect and say, I probably could have worked a bit harder. And that's that's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame because I think he missed his window.
You're listening to Life on Tour about Danny Poulter. Actually, you mentioned football there, because were you keener on football when you were growing up than golf? Certainly in the sort of early stages of childhood, and that was your first love almost? Yeah,
football. Football was definitely like the one I wanted to do. I wanted to be a Premiership player. I wanted to play football, score goals. I played every weekend. I played after school. Every opportunity I had. Trials when I was 14, 15.
With Spurs?
Unfortunately, that didn't last long. So
how did that come about then? Is that just whoever offers you the trials?
It was you get asked to go to a trial, and I played for my regular club, and obviously there's people out there watching. One of my mates did get through, and I was one of the many kids in out of the hundreds that were there that just were told you're not good enough.
We talk about strength and depth in golf, but football must be even more so. The disappointment, because everybody has a dream that they can make it, but I don't think people are prepared for disappointment, which is more realistic, that you're going to be one of those not chosen.
I don't remember an awful lot about it, to be honest. It was a fact of, there's a trial, you're going to go along to this place, you're going to, what I thought was play football, but it wasn't. It was just a very brief little kick around, and before you know it, was no, on to the next one. You're no good. So it was like lambs to slaughter, really.
Yeah. I can see you as you're a striker.
Well, I was to begin with, and I got moved back to centre half.
Oh, okay. So then the golf thing took over. I presume as you became better and better as well, you thought that this might be potentially a career for you.
It took over the day someone told me I wasn't good enough. So the second I was told I wasn't good enough at football. That was it. It was like the mindset was okay. Well, if I can't play football, then I need to play another sport. There was nothing at school I enjoyed doing.
It was always going to be sport for you.
Yeah.
So it was just a case of, right, if it can't be football,
it was either that or flipping burgers or.
Yeah.
I mean, there really wasn't anything else. I mean, I enjoyed graphic design. I enjoyed a bit of art at school. Nothing else floated my boat at all.
So then from Leighton Buzzard, still working as an assistant, still giving lessons, then what is the process for getting onto was the Challenge Tour your first aim? Because it had sort of just become established as a bit of a stepping stone getting into the European Tour.
Yeah, we played in the region all the way through, so I wanted to make sure I got my PGA qualification, so joined the PGA, doing all my exams, failing one of them, and having to do a resit, which was really a complete pain in the arse. But
what particular subject area was that?
That was commercial studies.
Right.
I was never good at revising. I was never good at exams. So.
But you're still having to re-whip golf clubs at this point in time.
Re-whip. Still doing inserts.
Yeah.
Re-gripping, etc. So I passed that section. I passed the coaching. I just had the commercial studies that I had to redo. So. At the end of that year, this is 1998, I'd had a couple of attempts to get my Challenge Tour card. So I went to tour school, paid my money. It was like $1,200 entry fee, I think it was back then, to try and go for to get your card. Failed twice, and on the third attempt, which was 98, I managed to get a Challenge Tour card for the 99 season.
Well, we'll come on to, because the honours board here, the Ian Poulter honours board, is in this room, and it's just beside your shoulder there. We want to get a look at that, because the first tournament is on the Challenge Tour. But just when you say you missed out a couple of times, you came close, and then you got your card, and again, we think of you as this person of unwavering belief, but there are so many people trying to make it, and you've seen them all at tour school. Was there doubt in there, or was it always, no, this will happen for me, it's just a matter of time?
I didn't think that it wouldn't happen. So it was a case of, I was super young, I was super inexperienced, going the way I was. I was chancing it, to be honest, as going as early as I was, because, I was working in a shop for all my time. So it wasn't like I could dedicate all my hours in every single day to just practice. I was just playing and practicing before or after shop hours. So I knew that, and obviously playing golf in the region and earning reasonable money at pro-ams and some of the events I played in, I had kind of enough money to be able to give it a go. You know, let's give it a go. Let's try it and see if we can get it. You know, get a card, get a position to go and play more golf, because my East Region results were always pretty good.
Yeah.
The year of '98, I played the Hippo Tour, so that was kind of like a step up. I played 11 of the 17 Order of Merit events, and I won the Order of Merit from only playing the 11 events.
The Hippo Tour, that one's actually,
Hippo
I do
Tour.
vaguely remember the Hippo Tour. I remember them as a brand as well. So anyway, let us turn our heads to the board here. 1999, the 18th Open de Côte d'Ivoire. So, I mean, first of all, what was it like in the Ivory Coast? Because it's not a destination you think of for golf in particular, but tell us about that winning week.
It was a fun week. I didn't have a caddy really at the time, so I chose a local caddy who looked like Bob Marley, had a huge dreadlock, had this big Rasta hat on, and we literally sung Bob Marley songs for 4 days. He read every putt, I hold every putt, and I think I had 102 putts for the week on super grainy greens.
Yeah.
And it was a fun week. I mean, it was strange. It was one of the strangest places I've played golf to date.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously very third world, and poverty was everywhere. But you know, it was great, obviously, to get the win.
Can you remember any other notable players who were in the field at that time trying to get onto the main
David
tour?
Lynn, Simon Hurd. I'm not sure if Justin played that week.
Yeah, actually, that's a good problem. We'll come on to your first sort of encounters and living with Justin Rose. That's a sort of a story in itself. But so there you are. You're winning on the Challenge Tour in '99. Was it a fairly seamless progression onto the European Tour?
No, I won early in the season.
But you didn't get your card from the Order of Merit on the Challenge Tour.
I didn't win early in that season. I won early in the season, and then kind of missed cuts, made cuts, didn't really finish off quite as well as I thought I probably could have done. So then had to go back to the school. So straight back to the school at the end of '98, and I finished 21st at the school, which obviously got me my European Tour card for 2000 season.
I should have actually. I meant to ask you if you gave a decent percentage to your Bob Marley lookalike in Côte d'Ivoire, or did you couture him? I don't know what.
I didn't couture him. No.
No. Okay.
No.
Oh God.
He was paid nicely, and obviously I didn't have the physical cash on me to give him right there. But I went to the club secretary at the golf course and asked if I could send him the money, the golf club send him the money, and then the golf club pay the caddy.
Right.
So I then sent a letter, paid the club, and then I received a letter back from the caddy to say he'd been paid. He was very happy.
Oh, tremendous! He was straight out
So
to
it
buy.
was great. Yeah, I'm not quite going to tell you exactly what he told me he was going to spend it on, but so part of it was going to be a television for his home, which was great.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, he's probably still smoking it now.
Good. Oh dear, excellent, good stuff. So there we are. Right, okay. So then we talking about that was a win at the start of '99. Got your card onto the European Tour, and straight away that season things were pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think I did okay. I finished second. In Morocco, which was kind of March, April time. I reshuffled from 21st, and I kind of re-ranked up to about second in the re-rank, which was really important. So if you get a card at the school, you've got to move up in the early rankings to make sure you're going to be in, some of those tournaments, which are going to be, tough from just getting your card to making it in. So I re-ranked number 2, had a bit of success, and obviously I was moving up that list on the Order of Merit, and got obviously in a position where I knew I needed to win in Italy to win the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and you did. So were you living with Justin Rose at this time?
I wasn't living with him. No, I mean I was roommate. So,
That's kind of living with, isn't it?
Not quite. I mean, the second half of the season on Challenge Tour, and then going back to obviously Tour School at the end of '99. Justin and I were good mates, and obviously rooming week to week.
I mean, and we've had a chat to him on this Life on Tour podcast series, and it was hard for him at the start. So were you were close to him at the time when he was having real struggles?
Yeah, I was very close.
I mean, how was that for him? I mean, the trouble is with a golfer, you've got to be so concentrated on your own form, but you must be very aware that someone who's been told they're going to be the next big star is having all sorts of struggles.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for him missing 21 cuts, I think it was, and and you're his roommate trying to give him a bit of advice as only a guy who's fresh out on tour himself.
And you're polishing the Italian Open trophy in front of him.
Well, but yeah, I mean, but you're trying to you're doing what you can to help him and say the right things. He's a good mate, and you obviously want your mate to do well. So you could even then as early as it was for me on tour, you could see that he was going to figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah. So while you're not quite living with him, you are, and again, we're going deep into your personal life here, but you've met your wife when? 1995, Katie?
I met Katie 95, yeah.
Okay. And so she was with you she's been with you pretty much for the sort of whole journey.
Yeah,
do you need that support when you're starting out in the game?
Yeah, I mean, you need to be happy, right? In whatever relationship you're in, even if you're single, you need to be happy. So you need a bit of stability there. You need a good agent. You need someone who can rationalise things when things aren't going very well. And that person, obviously, for me, was obviously having Katie, who was, very, very rock solid, and obviously the girl who was paying the bills to start with.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned when you won that East Region event and won £1,500, you went out and splashed out on a Fiesta, or upgraded to a Fiesta XR2, whatever. So what did you... Well, I know what you did because I've got it written down here. I know what you bought when you won your Italian Open, but is it true that it was... so that was your first...
Well, the second Italian Open.
Okay.
I always said to myself, if I win on tour, I'm going to treat myself to a Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
But the first check wasn't quite enough. Once I'd paid my tax and paid my caddy and paid all my stuff. So I then won the Moroccan Open after that, which that was a much smaller check. So that one wasn't quite enough either. So I decided to buy a nice house at the time to get set up.
Sensible. Good, I'm glad.
And then... I won the Italian Open, so I thought it was an omen. So we decided to go and splash on a toy.
There we are, 2002. Did you buy it in Italy, did you?
I didn't know. It was bought in the Ferrari dealership near Wentworth.
Really? So, I mean, again, you're known for your love of cars, and you don't just buy them as things to drive, or you buy them, you have a collection of cars. You're a bit of an aficionado for cars. Has that always been a passion of yours? Always
loved cars from a young kid, playing with, the boy toys, the kid toys, and my uncle had a couple of nice cars, a Porsche and RS Cosworth, and he always had nice cars. So occasionally we'd go, and be driven in nice cars, and it was always something that we couldn't afford. Mum and Dad could never really afford a nice car, so for me it was a big treat thing. A little sign of success to say you've done well, and I was able to obviously treat myself to a couple of nice toys.
How much do you know about what goes on under the bonnet? Are you a real petrol head? Or?
Well, there's a difference between a real petrol head and someone that buys something that you just really shouldn't touch.
Right.
I'm not qualified to stick my nose under a bonnet of a Ferrari and start tampering with it.
Okay, so how many
wouldn't be advisable.
No, Enzo would be cross.
Yeah,
is he still with us?
No.
Anyway, so how many cars do you have at the moment?
Collectibles 14.
Collectibles, and
the other ones are family cars and daily drivers.
Right, collectibles, family cars, and daily drivers. We've all. That's how we all split up our cars to collectibles, family cars, and daily drivers. How many in total then?
Are we including kids' cars? Does that count?
Do the children have cars? Is this sensible? How about, so, yes.
Amy's 15. Sorry, Amy's 17. Sorry, Luke's 15.
Amy's cross now listening to this. She won't be listening
Sorry,
to this.
Amy's 17. She's been driving for 2 years.
Oh, because they start
Luke
when
is
they're about
now
12
15.
in America. Yeah.
And as you know, in America, you can actually drive at 15 with a parent. So Luke's going to need a car real soon.
Right, so how many cars in total then?
There's a lot.
Okay, it's some number. I'm quite vague about it.
It's over 14.
Okay, excellent. What's your favourite car in your collection then? Your 14 collectibles.
Probably the oldest one out of all of them, the 275 GTB4 Cam.
That's a pretend I know.
1967. It's kind of is a very elegant, pretty front end. Reminds people of kind of like an E-Type Jag. Enzo Ferrari back then said that an E-Type Jag was the prettiest car in the world.
Yeah.
And you can see a big resemblance between that and the 275.
And are the collectibles all in Florida?
Yeah.
Okay. In your house? Or
I have one here, but it's not something I drive. It's just tucked away. Okay,
and now I need to this. We all need to know this. Do you own the car, the police car that drove Rory McIlroy to his almost late tee time?
I'm looking after it. I have a little piece of it. Yeah.
So it is true that there is that car was tracked down. It is around. So
3 people at the Golf Channel bought it.
Really?
I think for $7,000.
Okay, so if people don't know, listening, they will know that Rory McIlroy was almost late for his. Was it Keegan Bradley who was playing? I think it was.
Keegan Bradley
in the singles.
Match 2 or 3.
Medinah. He was running late because he didn't understand time zones, and he got a lift in a police car with a police officer. And you part own that car now.
Yeah.
Is he one of the other owners?
He's not, no.
Oh, we should certainly sell him a piece of that.
No, we should.
Right, let's get back to the golf. Because, as you mentioned, your second Italian Open win in 2002. I mean, again, what were your goals at this? What was your sort of belief that your career path would take at this point? Because you've won on tour, you must be thinking, right, I'd kick on the majors and play in the Ryder Cup.
Exactly that. I mean, obviously, I played in the Open in 2000, so that was my first experience, which was amazing. Going through qualifying at Ladybank to make it into my first Open at St Andrews, and then obviously having some success, a few wins in the first couple of years. It was the vision to, let's see if we can make a Ryder Cup team from that moment.
Which was the one at St Andrews where you wore the trousers with the names of all the winners on them? Was that 2005? Right. Okay. So what was 2000? That wasn't, because the 2004 was the Union Jack.
I was. It was very muted. It was my first year on tour, and it was very calm. Was that a conscious decision then to actually become more flamboyant, to make yourself stand out? I couldn't really afford to be that flamboyant back then.
No, but then after that, when you wore the Union Jack trousers and things like that, and your hair was did you think, golf needs a bit of colour, and perhaps it's a selling point as well for me?
I loved when you look at Parnevik, when you look at the personalities in golf, even John Daly, Seve, Faldo, if you look through the years, and Greg Norman, look at the guys that were a little bit different. They were doing, whether they were super dedicated or super flamboyant or just very different, they were the guys that people would follow in golf. And I just didn't want to be run-of-the-mill wearing the khaki pants and the navy t-shirt and a baseball cap. And
that's all your decision. No one's saying, I'll tell you what, Ian, if you really want to stand out, you can wear this, but that was just all you.
Yeah, I mean, the Union Jack trousers were a little crazy.
Are they here?
Yeah, they were in here. They've obviously they've been moved. But yeah, the Andrew, the Duke of Bedford, he purchased them.
Did he?
Yeah. And I gave the money to the hospital in Scotland when Luke was poorly after 6 weeks.
Oh yeah, amazing. And when people are, you'll hear the good and the bad of that, colourful car, but some people say, what does he look like? Did any of that bother you at all, or are you just confident in what you're doing?
I was always super confident in what I was doing, and I for a long time there, I wasn't really bothered. And then obviously social media comes around, and people could share their comments a bit more. So instead of the odd person saying something that really didn't bother me, you open up a new forum, and people have the opportunity to say things.
Yeah. We're going to come to that later, but we might as well mention social media. It's a strange world we live in now, but you were sort of one of the early adopters, one of the early starters on Twitter. Did you like it at first, and do you still like it?
I still love it. I think I started in 2009. I think one of the first messages I put out was when it was actually at Bethpage, when we'd had all the rain, and I teed off 10, hit driver, massive mud ball in the middle of the fairway, and I think I remember taking a picture of the mud on the ball and actually tweeting it, which caused a bit of an issue because then they banned you actually being able to use a phone during the round of golf.
Yeah.
So that was a slap on the wrist. But, I've always loved it. I've loved it from a perspective of giving people a view in to the crazy world we live in as a golfer. And, I've loved it. I've had a love-hate relationship with it. For a number of years, I would always retaliate to people saying stuff that I'd object to, which I've learned to grow up on that a little bit and try not to retaliate anymore.
How, because we all know to a certain extent how difficult it can be when people have their say. That's one of the great strengths and the great sort of annoyances of Twitter, is that, especially as a sportsman, you'll come off after a bad round, you'll know you've played badly. The last thing you want to see is someone saying, "Oh, blown it for me." It's usually someone who's got some money on you. But I mean, can you shut that out?
Well, you can try to, but it's the same. It's the same as if you watch the Golf Channel and Brandel Chambly's deciding to, if you're Brooks Koepka, Chambly's deciding to tear him apart when he's won 3 out of 7 majors at the time before he goes and wins 4 out of 8. So, it's kind of that same thing. When someone wants to put you down, it really annoys you. And I've had a fair share of that. I think I've had my fingers burnt with it when a guy was heckling and he was getting, unfortunately Luke was listening to some of the stuff he had to say, and there was a guy who worked for a college and he was enjoying posting his picture with his mates that were putting me off on the golf course, and found it very funny. And obviously I retweeted that and said it's a bit disappointing someone of your stature would be doing something like that, and then obviously he was fired from his job. That wasn't the intention of me reposting that, but I took a lot of flack for that for a long time.
Yeah, but you're still not afraid to voice opinions, and we in the media and even out with the media, people want golfers to be interesting and say interesting things, and then when they stick their head above the parapet, they get shot down for saying interesting things. I saw you talking about women's abortion rights, and you probably get come back on that. I'm not sure if you still feel confident enough to go on any subject on Twitter if you feel strongly enough about it.
Yeah, I mean, we all have opinions on things, and I think it is a forum to air your thoughts, but everybody has their own opinion to certain things, and I'm happy to say it. If it upsets a few people, that's not my problem. I mean, my views are my views, and if someone objects to it, you can't please everyone in life. There's always going to be a side of somebody which you can upset with saying something. So I don't choose to let that affect me anymore. And if I don't like something they're saying, I mean, it's just a simple block, and they never have to be there again. Yeah. So if they don't like what I say, just press the unfollow button. It's really simple. Yeah. It works every time.
I mute. It's the coward's block. You just mute.
Is it mute?
Because they don't know they've been blocked. So
I have no problem in telling someone they're blocked.
No, I'm a massive coward. So back on to the golf course, and Ryder Cup is such a massive part of your life, and you came so close in 2002 to making the team. I mean, did that serve as sort of an extra motivation for you to, once you had been so close to saying, and also feeling that it's going to happen, but just really wanting to get on the Ryder Cup? It was great
fuel, is what it was. Obviously missing out, getting a call from Sam to say, unfortunately, I can't pick you for the team, but I'd like you to be a first reserve. That was hard, and I do remember going to play in Switzerland the following week after that, and I was paired with him, and I think I was 9 over through 9. Handed him a scorecard after 9 holes and said, I think if I can be excused, I need to go home. So, you know, I took that pretty bad. I didn't enjoy that, and I think from there it was pretty, you know, fuel on the fire to, you know, to kick on and make sure I made every team after that.
Now, your first one was Oakland Hills, which was a bit of a rout, so a great one to. I mean, you've played in 6, you've won 5 of them, so it's a, you know, it's an astonishing record in many ways. I would say I was commentating on your singles match in that one, which was such a big win.
In 04.
In 04, people were confused about where the winning putt was, and I was saying to our director, I was saying, Poulter's got a putt to win here. Was it 5 and 4 or something against Chris Riley?
4 and 3.
4 and 3. It was on the 15th.
4 and 3.
That's right. And I was saying this is a putt effectively to guarantee the trophy.
Yeah.
But Monty was on the 18th, just about at the same time. But I don't know. Not because I'm interviewing you, but I'll say to my dying day that you sunk the winning putt at Oakland.
Sounds a lot better if Monty does it. It's more, you know.
How was that experience at Oakland Hills?
It was awesome. It was great. From a team perspective, you know, the team was super strong, and it was one of those where you could see they had issues in their team, right from obviously captain, you know, trying to force Phil and Tiger to play together, which didn't work, and then obviously that kind of snowballed through the team really. But it was great. Langer was awesome as a captain, and kind of really got my toes wet in the whole, you know, Ryder Cup experience. I didn't play on Friday. Playing, you know, my first match with Darren on Saturday and not winning was not a great feeling. So, you know, straight out the blocks, losing my first match was pretty miserable. So a little bit of, you know, payback in winning my singles after that.
So on match play, I mean, you know, you seem to be almost a different beast playing match play. Do you think you're a better player? Do you enjoy it more, that sort of combative nature? I do
like the confrontation of one-on-one. You know, you stare your opponent straight in the face, you know what he's doing all the time, and, you know, you can, in some way, shape or form, influence matches with certain shots. So I do like that aspect. You know, my stroke play game, I feel, has been very, very solid through the years, but, you know, people are going to earmark the Ryder Cup and, you know, the match play stuff and say that's obviously been my forte.
What Ryder Cup or what match within a Ryder Cup stands out for you in particular? Like I say, they're all my favourites, they're all my children, but there must be a moment from a Ryder Cup or one particular match that stands out for you.
Well, you'll be able to guess which one it will be, I'm sure.
Well, you've put me on the spot now. Would it be?
Let's see. It's not difficult.
See, I should have prepared better for this. It's fine. We can put an edit point in here, so I can have a long think about it, and it'll seem seamless. Just have a little think here.
Medinah.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Medinah. Well, I was going to say Medinah, Ian, actually.
Was you? Yeah, well done. Very
so
good.
Medinah, would that be on the Saturday night then?
Saturday afternoon match. I think, you know, we were 10-4 down. So the little run Rory and I had from 13 to close out, you know, six birdies on the bounce, Rory birdieing 13, and I mopped a few in, obviously, to come into the clubhouse, which was great. You know, that kind of hour and a half was some of the craziest time I've ever experienced on a golf course. From a perspective of adrenaline rush, being behind in the match, turning the match round, having Michael Jordan being the US talisman that he was to try and get in your face and kind of try and be the guy that, you know, wants to try and put you off. Yeah. You know, it was a remarkable finish. Sergio and Luke Donald turning their match around just in front of us to make it 10-5, and then, you know, coming up the last hole, having Duffner, who's made a 5-foot putt to make birdie, and then have to hole a 15-footer on top of him to give us a 10-6 chance. was probably the maddest Ryder Cup experience I've had.
Who came up with the Postman, the name? Was it that year, or was it Celtic Manor that someone first coined it? The Postman always delivers.
It was at Celtic Manor.
Right.
Because I said on the range that when Tim Barter was asking me about going to play Matt Kuchar, I said I will deliver my point. So at that point, after winning that match, I got in the locker room and they all started calling me the Postman.
Okay. Are you also scared of dogs?
Am I scared of dogs?
Oh, just a Postman thing. Anyway.
No, not at all. Love dogs.
Actually, do you have dogs? You have pets?
Yeah, I've got 2 dogs, Bentley and Enzo.
Bentley and Enzo.
Yes.
There we are. Now I'm spotting a connection here. What kind of dogs are they?
They are Labradoodles.
Right, okay. They don't. Yeah, well, people get them because they don't shed
They
fur.
don't shed. Yeah. I'm allergic to cat hair, dog hair, so...
Okay. Well, I'm not all about Labradoodles, but I'll allow you that. Enzo and Bentley. Excellent.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so, I mean, the Ryder Cup is one thing, but, you know, you've desperately craved success in the majors. I suppose the closest you've come in the majors would be when you got into the clubhouse at Birkdale. Did you think you had a real chance when you got in there? I mean, Harrington finished so well, but...
I definitely thought I had a chance. I thought the putt on the last hole was... at the time, my opportunity to win a major. And there's a funny story. Terry, as I chipped on to about 15 feet and Terry puts the bag at the back of the green, I kind of called him over. And Terry's kind of face was a picture because he hasn't looked at a single putt for 4 days. And he now thinks I'm going to ask him to read a putt, which, albeit a putt that I think and he thinks is a chance to win. And I said to him, did you ever putt on the putting green at home when you was a kid? And it was to win the Open. He says, yeah. I said, well, I've got it, now go away.
Yeah, I don't think you said.
And then I rolled it in. I didn't say go away, no, I said something else. But so it was kind of a funny moment at the time. I rolled it in, you know, got off the back of the 18th green. And I think for about 10 minutes I thought, yeah, you know, there's a chance. And then obviously Harrington made a couple of birdies and obviously it kind of stretched itself out. He hit a great shot into 17 and it was all over.
It seemed to be at your best in majors when it almost becomes that the atmosphere lifts and it's, you know, I'm not saying getting like a match play situation because you're playing in a different group to Harrington, but when, you know, it just gets so exciting, intense, and that's when you become almost sort of inflate in size and have a best chance to win a major.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think my major results haven't been as good as I would like to have had them. You know, I've had a second, I've had a third. I've been in position. You know, this year at the Masters.
Do you think you've let yourself down in the majors by your own standards?
A little bit. I mean, I would have loved to have had a major by now, and it hasn't come around, and I just haven't played well enough for 4 days. And you know, I've played well enough to be in position a number of times, and I've hit the wrong shot at the wrong time and just not taken my chances, and it's frustrating.
Obviously, I was going to say, do you believe you can still win one? Obviously you do, but where do you think your best chance lies to win a major?
Well, the Masters or the Open Championship. As we sit here about to go to US Open.
Well, US Open at Pebble Beach is
even Pebble Beach, you know, being, you know, looking how I played Shinnecock last year, being in position, you know, right there up until Sunday, even with a triple bogey on my 17th hole of my second round, you know, I'm within a couple of shots of the lead. So, you know, when courses are tough, tricky, and not just set out to be a bomber's week, then I've got a chance.
I mean, you could, and a few players have said this, that about the PGA, they never had a chance to win it because it's down to about 10 players maximum who could win there because of the way that was set up, and that's the way golf seems to be going. Do you think you're not the longest hitter in the world, that it has to be a certain week for you and a certain setup for you to be able to compete?
I definitely think there are weeks that are going to be easier for me to be in contention. Bethpage, I've played a practice round, and, as confident as I am and the will to win, it was pretty apparent pretty early into that week that it was going to be a tough week. I think I would have had to have played my very best golf to have a top 10 finish, and I would have had to have done something superhuman to have even had a chance to win. That is a week that can run away from you very quickly. It's really frustrating, and I know that's how a few of these venues are going to be.
We've talked about your belief on the course and sort of off the course in your game, and it's carried you a long way as one of your great strengths. The one quote that sort of follows you around is what you said about Tiger, that when it's... What was the exact quote? It was when it was just...
Well, the analogy was when I looked at the world rankings. So when I looked at the world rankings, that I would always look at every single week, and was I moving up and how was I doing? I basically said I'd like, it to be Tiger than me. But obviously, when you say that, and you say it in a way of when I was visually looking at the world rankings, I'd love to it at some stage, be Tiger Woods myself, but it came across in a way that then got wrote in a magazine that it's just Tiger and me.
Right. Yeah.
Which was a fun 2 years.
That was, yeah. Well, did he say to you, hey, number 2 or something when he saw you?
Yeah, he made a funny joke, but that was obviously Claude Harmon and those guys and Westy and the boys having a bit of banter, which is fine. But it was obviously taken a bit further than that with papers and magazines and continual social media.
How do you get on with Tiger? Because, I'm not sure that any of his fellow players, not many know him really. Do you chat to him? Do you?
Yeah, I chat to him when we play. I don't have his telephone number, and I've never really shared a dinner with him or had a drink with him. What's he like as a person? I don't really know, is the honest answer to that. I have never spent enough time in his company away from the golf course to really get to know the Tiger Woods off the course. So it's difficult. The Tiger Woods on the golf course is a good guy. He's super focused, super ruthless, and he's a difficult person to play golf with.
What's the truth behind the hitching a lift in his private jet? Did that happen as described by various people?
No, I was actually at I'm trying to think of the course we were playing. It was Oakmont.
Right, okay.
And he was crossing one hole, I was crossing another. I joined up with him to play, and I just asked him where he was going back to. At the time he was living in Orlando, and I was catching a Southwest flight.
Oh, come on. What are you supposed to do?
So I just said to him, I said, you go back to Orlando? And he said, yeah, I'm heading back to Orlando. I said, is there any chance of a lift? So he said, yeah, sure. Just make sure you're at the airport at 4:00. So I drove to the airport and got on the plane, had pizza and Diet Coke, and he sat up front with, I think he was with Hank Haney at the time. And the two of them sat up front, and I sat a number of seats further back and had a pizza and chilled and went back to Orlando and got off the flight, said thanks a lot and went home.
Yeah. Players do that all the time because they're all based in Florida. They must share private jets.
We do it all the time, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not very unusual. It's not an unusual thing, but of course, Poulter mooches a ride on Tiger's plane, yeah. So that was another one that Hank obviously put in his book, wasn't it? So that's where that came from. But that's fine. It's not a problem.
What about, I've just remembered, and I had blocked it out of my memory, but posing nude, well, you had a golf bag in front of you and a magazine. Whose idea was that?
Why has that just popped up in your mind?
It comes out every other day or so. It pops up in my head. Yeah.
Very strange.
Was that someone suggested it to you?
Some silly magazine journalist said, "Why don't you take a picture with just a bag in front of you?" So, he caught me at a bad time because obviously I've agreed to it, and that picture went out in the magazine, and Of course, the rest is history, right?
Yeah, but see, you don't strike me as a man who has, and it's probably the best way to be, don't regret things. It's just a bit of fun. But do you sometimes think...
It was fun.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't... it's not like I framed it and put it up on my wall.
I have.
Kind of, well done. Would you like me to sign it? It was one of those... It was a fun thing to do at the time. And that's what it was. I mean, it was a nice pink golf bag anyway.
Yeah, it was. I was back in my head again. Right, I'm pushing it away. And it hasn't all been plain sailing on the course because, very recently you had injury and you slipped down. You were just, nearing dropping out of the top 200 in the world. And that was a difficult time for you, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Again, does that test your belief that, because you're advancing in years as well at that stage, and thinking, right, can I get back there?
Advancing in years, is that a polite way of saying you're getting old?
You're getting old, kind of an old fella.
Is that the politically correct way of saying it?
Exactly.
The grey hairs were coming through, and I had a bad 2016 foot injury. Was not good timing, and it was a low point. So that 5 months that I took off, kind of from May all the way to October, was a tough chunk of time. But there were also a number of things going on off the golf course, which were just, there was too much noise, too much stuff going on. Obviously, I had a clothing business which had been going 11 years.
Did you just close that down to sort of free yourself and
shut it down just to simplify everything? The business was at a very okay, but it was just okay. It was washing its face, and the amount of time it was taking to have a business wash its face after that long is not good enough. So we shut it down. I changed my management system back to Paul Dunkley, which was always how it used to be. But there were a number of mistakes being made, and it was becoming too frustrating. So I literally had to get rid of everyone. I had to get rid of my tax accountant, had to get rid of my bookkeeper, had to get rid of everyone. It was a full clean out to get it back to basics. There were too many mistakes being made, and they were extremely costly.
When you get stuff off the golf course creeping in, obviously it affects your game. But were you learning lessons in business and in life, and perhaps getting the raw end of deal? I don't know what was happening, business-wise, but was it just all becoming a bit too much in terms?
It was just too much. It was too much. So it was just a number of things, one after another. I mean, getting back on the golf course after the injury was good, but shortly after that was the time where we had to clean up the rest of the business stuff and the agency stuff, and people that were just making too many mistakes that were too costly. And to get it really back to basics, employ a full-time PA that works in my office that can just I've got one point of contact and simplify my life. I've got Paul Dunkley who runs all my contractual stuff.
You could have great trust in the people who are running things off the course for you.
You have to. And that's been the turnaround, really, to simplify everything and get things back to basics.
We saw you almost back in the Masters. We thought you were back in the Masters. You thought you were back in the Masters, and then not quite to the World Match Play qualification. I mean, that was, in retrospect, was actually quite funny because you did get in, but that was a bit of a... And even before that, you relied on kindness of Rich Beam and then Brian Gay spotting something in terms of allowing you sort of to play enough tournaments to keep your European Tour status, and then to get the chance to play in tournaments to win more money. So there was a lot of it.
It was a crazy few months.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rich Beam situation, I had fallen out the top 50 of the world. I'd banked on HSBC Champions being one of my events which were going to count to European Tour. Because I fell to 51st, I wasn't in, and therefore I wasn't going to play Hong Kong at the last minute. Rich Beam was playing Hong Kong. He gave his invite back for me to play. That was a bit of craziness. And then Brian Gay's situation was he thought he was in the Players' Championship from the money and points he'd earned, and he'd realised that they'd done a calculation error,
which benefited you
devalued
as well.
his points, which obviously meant my points were devalued.
Yeah.
So that brought it to the attention of the PGA Tour, and then I got a nice phone call to say, in New Orleans, actually, you did actually do enough in your 10 events that you played under the medical exemption to earn a card, and actually you did well enough to get into the Players' Championship.
Yeah.
So, and then I went and finished second in the Players.
To Siwoo Kim.
To Siwoo Kim, which was huge in world ranking points, and obviously boosted me back up.
And so then you're on the rise again, and last year at Houston, after you thought you were in the Masters but weren't through the match play, then to go into there when you saw it was almost Ryder Cup-esque, Ian Poulter after the playoff with Bo Hostler beating the chest and everything. But was that possibly your favourite victory because it was doing it in a stroke play event on the PGA Tour as well?
I think it was if I look back as one of the most important wins of all the wins that I've had, it was probably one of the most important ones from 6 years away from the winner's circle, going through what's happened in 2016, and to come back the way we've come back, to put myself in a position to have to win to make the Masters. I think there's a number of things which made that a very special win.
Yeah. Think what the next aim for you is. I mean, obviously majors would be the icing on the cake for you, but how many years do you think you've got left competing as you advance in years at the sort of top level?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I'm 43. I feel I'm playing probably some of my best golf in my life right now, and obviously Ryder Cup qualification starts again in September. So with that in mind, I'd like to move. I'd like to move back up in the world rankings. I'd like to make it back into the top 20. I'd love to make it back into the top 10, like I was in 2010. And if I can do that, then anything's really possible from a perspective of playing great golf. How long am I going to continue that form for? I don't know. I'd like to stretch it out till 50 for sure.
And what is it is it that drives you? I mean, you always said, even since being a young boy in various sports, very competitive. Is it as simple as that, or is it a financial thing, or is it wanting respect from other players and fans and whoever? What is it that motivates you?
Just the want to win, the want to always try and improve, succeed, still be relevant as a strong player in the game of golf. It's not easy to do that in your 40s, but it's something that a few people have done. And I feel the way I'm playing, and the way I feel, I've got a number of good years left at that.
Even going deeper into our psychoanalysis, why do you want to win? I'm just wondering what makes a winner, what makes a competitor. Is it sort of approval? Is it being there in the spotlight? Have you ever stopped to think about that?
Well, you question yourself when you haven't won for 6 years, and you really think, have I still got it? So to be able to then win again gives you the reassurance and the confidence to know you're still relevant in the game of golf. I mean, I guess that's a fear, is being completely irrelevant. It will not be a nice day when, I'm too old to be competitive.
Would you play seniors golf?
I haven't really thought about it yet, but I mean, never say never.
There's certainly Ryder Cup captaincy to consider. You can, there are certain players who you know it's going to happen for. I was speaking to Lee Westwood the other day. You start to look forward and say which one would be a nice one to captain in. Again, that's perhaps a distance off for you, but obviously it's something you would want to do.
I'd love the opportunity for sure. I think, Ryder Cup's always been something that I've loved from day one, and if I get asked, obviously I'm going to be delighted to. Where I fit in a sequence, if I'm asked, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I would have an idea of where my time may come.
Are you going to tell us when that would be?
Well, I think Lee will probably be next on the list, which obviously has him in Italy. And if...
Okay, would you want to do one in America or one in Europe? There we are, take on the American crowds.
I don't mind taking on the American crowds.
I think you quite enjoy
Maybe
it.
in New York.
Oh.
Maybe.
Can you imagine Ian Poulter as captain of the European team at Bethpage? Can you imagine it, Ian?
Look, if it's thrown out there, then I'm not going to say no. Put it this way. I mean, it's going to be loud. It's going to be extremely loud and very boisterous, and it will need to be managed very well.
I was about to say, because Bethpage, even just there for the PGA and indeed for the US Opens they've had there before,
Yep.
it gets lively.
Out of hand.
Yeah, because they're sports fans, they're almost golf fans, they're just New York sports fans. But a Ryder Cup, it may well get too much.
It's going to get out of hand, I think, and I think something has to be put in place at Whistling Straits, to be put in place in Italy, for there to be a stepping stone effect, to be able to get a handle on what's going to happen. It will be a problem, for sure.
Let's throw the lit match of Ian Poulter as captain into the kindling of Bethpage and see what happens. Stand by. All right, off the course then, just quickly, because you have you're playing today here at Woburn with your youngest. You have
I
4
played
children.
with Luke, who's 15,
Right.
and I played with Joshua, who's 7,
Okay,
and 2 other friends, very good friends.
that's a 5-ball. That's not allowed. So.
Technically, no, but I
You're the
guess
club
we
secretary.
weren't holding anyone up, so
Okay, you
I
put a
guess it
signature on it. You
I
signed
guess it was
to say
okay.
Yeah.
Joshua played from the Poulter short course tees.
Okay, now who shows real? Because Luke's 15, you said, and
Yeah.
does he show real talent? I mean, he's got some game
Yeah, I mean,
clearly.
he played last weekend. He played the Dukes and Duchess course in the club championship. His official
I saw net 67, 68 or something.
his official handicap's 9, because he obviously doesn't play. He only plays here in the summer. So he obviously, playing off of 9, he played quite nicely, and only 3 guys managed to shoot a better score than he.
So he's getting a big cut.
So he got chopped from 9 to 5.7.
Would you want, again, it's what's always asked of sports people of their children, would you want them following in your footsteps? And going,
I'd love it.
would you?
As long as he's happy, and if he is really happy playing and being in that spotlight under pressure to play golf, and if he feels that's what he wants to do, and if he's good enough to do it, I'll be absolutely delighted.
Okay. What else do you do off the course? Because cars, I mean, I saw you occasionally pally with Rubens Barrichello. What do you do in your downtime when you're not playing golf?
It's literally kid time.
Oh, is it?
So whether it be taking Joshua out, whether it be just spending time with the kids, I really don't do an awful lot. I'm actually quite boring from that perspective. But because we're away from the kids for so much time, that I want to be around the kids.
You're a season ticket holder at Disney World.
No, I'm not. I don't do the Disney thing. It's too busy. I don't like it.
No.
I don't do queues.
No.
I mean, I do queues, but I just don't enjoy standing in a queue for 2 hours for a 40-second ride. That's not on my
No.
list. But I'll take them. I'll take them out. I'll do fun things with them, and I just want to be with the kids as much as I can. Amy's 17, and to be honest, that time has disappeared really quickly, and I feel I haven't been there for her enough. And within 12 months, she's going to be away at college, and that's going to be a tough one to take.
And how is life in the States compared to life over here? I don't know how much time you spend over here, because you've got a place, near, not too far from Woburn. But how much time do you spend here? I saw your mould on your putting green when you came back.
Yeah, it was not in good shape, so we had to get that fixed.
How long was that away from? Just a few months, and it come back and it's
No,
mouldy?
last year it was starting to look pretty sad. It's an artificial green, and it needed some TLC. So this year was the right year to get that done. I get about 10, 11 weeks from when I first come back to when we leave the UK. But in that time, I'm obviously flying back for US Open, coming back here, playing a number of tournaments, and then going to Memphis and coming back for a week. So I probably only get 4 weeks off of actual weeks where I'm not competing, but that's not weeks off because I'm still practicing.
What do you like about the States or miss about the UK?
I miss Woburn's bacon and sausage sandwiches.
We haven't been offered any, so...
Well, I'm quite hungry right now. Yeah, it's a shame. The food's awesome here.
Yeah. Absolutely
awesome. So I miss the friends and family, and I miss, the fact of just jumping in your car, driving to Woburn and having a breakfast or having lunch or late afternoon tea and just being home. I mean, it's great playing golf in a jumper. Is something pretty nice. Not sweating when you're practicing is also quite nice.
Yeah, the simple things. Right, okay, we're going to let you go and get a bacon and egg, bacon sausage it was sandwich, was it?
It's all right, it's too late in the day for that.
Really? Oh no, you can have that at any time. But before we let you go, we've got a Hilton quick 9 questions. So we've got 9 quick answer questions for you to wrap things up. So, quick answers. Who would be in your dream 4-ball?
My dad, Luke and Joshua.
Perfect. Daughter's very angry at that. Best city you have visited?
Tokyo.
Favourite Ryder Cup memory? We've sort of covered that, so I presume it's...
Medinah,
says the postman. What's the first thing in your suitcase when you go on holiday? Clothes.
My golf outfits.
Golf outfits, right. Okay. Orlando...
I want to go on holiday?
On holiday, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You're not sitting on the beach in your sweater, knitwear.
First thing in the case. My budgie smugglers.
Okay, there is another memory that I'll have to repress. Image gone. Orlando or Milton Keynes?
Milton Keynes.
Okay, they were quite specific. A lot of roundabouts there. Favourite club in the bag?
All of them.
Okay.
Such a boring answer.
That's a lie.
Sorry.
One place on your bucket list. One place that you'd like to go.
No, I wouldn't. There's no one bucket list. I just want to be with the kids.
You've travelled enough, right? Okay, if you could own one car, what would it be? This is the 8th hole.
250 GTO. That's never going to happen. It's too expensive.
Too expensive. Come on now. And
I don't have a spare 70 million lying around.
Oh right, okay. I didn't realise it cost that much.
It's too expensive.
Okay, XR2 for me. Win a major or Arsenal win the Champions League? Come on, I know the answer to that.
That's not a question.
That's just exactly.
That's awful.
Yeah. Okay. Win a major or Arsenal win 7 Champions Leagues in a row.
I've got the opportunity to win a major, and unfortunately, Arsenal haven't got the opportunity to win the Champions League because we're not good enough.
Okay. I mean, we could stray into the dangerous territory of talking about Arsenal ad nauseum.
Let's not do that.
I think we're going to draw it to a close there. So, Ian Poulter at the home of Ian Poulter. Here we are at Woburn. Thank you very much for joining us on Life on Tour.
Very welcome. Thanks for having us.
To watch European Tour video, click here. Subscribe, click here.